get more now on our top story this afternoon. Syrian state television say at least three senior members of President Assad's regime have been killed in an attack in Damascus. A bomb went off inside the National Security Building as a top-level government meeting was taking place. Well, Saka Al-Makhadhi is a journalist who splits his time between London and Damascus. He joins us here in the studio. Welcome, thanks for coming in. You've obviously been watching this situation very carefully. How significant do you think the developments today are?
Well, I think, we've been talking about whether big events in Syria are tipping points or turning points, or whether this is the moment that everything changes. I think today really is different, because this is the first time that the Free Syrian Army have been able to strike right at the very heart of the regime. The three people killed today include Asif Shokat. Now, he is the brother-in-law of the president, and really a lot of people have been saying that he's been almost directing large parts of the crackdown on the civilian protesters over the last year and a half. So to take him out is a massive development. It's the biggest blow the government has faced, and for this to happen right in the heart of Damascus, which has been very, very quiet over the last year and a half, apart from some sporadic violence in the centre of the city and larger scale action, of course, in the suburbs. For this to happen right in the centre of Damascus, in a security complex where a top-level meeting was happening, really shows that the government now has nowhere to hide.
So a major strike for the rebels, but I mean, they must be fairly worried now, I would imagine, about retaliation.
Well, they haven't really worried about this in the past. They managed to keep up the fight in Homs for a month, even though in the face of, massive retaliation, when civilian neighbourhoods were mown down, where civilians were killed in the hundreds every day. So I don't think they're worried about the death toll rising any further. It already has risen to really quite incredible levels. The policy that they seem to be pursuing now, or at least attempting at, is a decapitation policy. So by taking out key members of the inner circle, they want to persuade leading army generals and senior figures in the military that the game is up for the regime and that it's now time for them to defect over to the Free Syrian Army side. They're hoping to push it over to that critical mass where military leaders say, well, there's nothing left to hope for. Because until now, we had seen only 2 defections, which is really incredible for a year and a half's revolution to only produce these 2 significant defections. Of course, a lot of lower-level, lower-ranking military officers have crossed over the border into Turkey and have changed sides. But for 2 high-level political defections until now, that really is quite shocking that the government has managed to keep hold of the reins of power for so long. So by a surgical military strike like this, it really does show that the rebels are gaining significant power.
So was this a lucky strike, do you think, or are we really now looking at the beginning of the end, and how do you see that ending?
Well, we've been predicting the beginning of the end for many, many months now. It would be foolish to say that this really is the tipping point. It's interesting, though, that the government has chosen to announce this. It has come very clean, very early on, and people are speculating that, maybe there's some kind of conspiracy here. We've heard of rumours of the assassination of Asif Shokat many times before. This is not new. So for the government to admit this, we have to ask, why are they doing this? Is this because the UN is due to meet, was due to meet to discuss the potential for sanctions? Is it something like that? So we have to really ask why that's happening. But of course, the Free Syrian Army has been escalating in the past few days. It's really pushed up this fight against the government. It calls it Operation Volcano. And people were saying, well, this is really too early for them to be declaring that the fight has arrived in Damascus. They won't be able to achieve anything. Well, now they've really shown that the volcano has erupted. They've arrived in Damascus, and they're not going to let go.
Okay. Good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you.